Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive with yours truly.
Always a pleasure to be diving in with you.
All right, so today we're going to be looking at something I think we all deal with, and that's how the world really works.
Oh, yeah.
And not just in our jobs or anything,
Right.
but like on that big global scale.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a whole hidden rule book out there that...
Like sometimes you look around and you're like,
Yeah.
wait a second, these rules are kind of harsh.
Especially if you're trying to, climb the corporate ladder or
Yeah.
you're trying to navigate international relations.
Totally.
It's a tough world out there.
And so the sources that you send over are so fascinating to me because they highlight this contrast,
Yeah.
right? We've got, on the one hand, this really personal account of corporate life,
Right.
like pulling back the curtain on what's really going on,
Behind the scenes, yeah.
like behind all those "we're family" slogans.
Oh, right.
And
Oh,
then
yeah, Jess.
we jump right into the world stage, and we're looking at Zelensky's presidency and how, through his experiences, we can see a whole different set of these unspoken rules.
Well, and what's fascinating to me is that both of those situations kind of reveal a similar dynamic,
Yeah.
which is that there's this gap between the ideals we're told to believe in
Mm-hmm.
and then the reality of how things actually play out.
Right. So it's like there's the way things should be,
Should be.
or the way things sound like they are.
Right.
And then there's just the cold, hard reality of the situation.
Yep. And sometimes that reality bites.
All right, so let's dive into that corporate world first.
Okay.
Because this source really hones in on the whole "we're a family" thing that companies love.
Oh, they love to say that.
To say it
We're
right.
all a big happy family.
And it's so powerful, right? It's
Yeah.
like you're not just going to work. You're
Mhm.
joining this group
It's a community.
that cares about you.
Yeah.
Have you bought into that?
Oh, I think we all have at some point.
Right.
I
I mean, we've all been there.
I know. I've definitely fallen for it a couple times.
But has that idea of the company as family always held up in your experience?
You know, when I think back on the history of corporate culture,
Mm-hmm.
the company as family idea is actually pretty new.
Really?
Yeah, you go back a few decades and you'd see a totally different model.
Like, what would we see?
Especially in those big corporations, there was more of an unspoken agreement, I think.
Oh, interesting.
You put in the time, you put in the work,
Mm.
and in return, the company would give you stability,
Uh-huh.
benefits, almost a sense of lifetime security.
Wow. Okay, so
Which
that's
is a different era.
so different from how it is today.
Totally different.
I mean, today it's not really like that anymore, is it?
Not so much.
Like, you don't really hear people talking about that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, global competition and, shareholder value.
Right.
All of that really shifted the focus.
Uh-huh.
It became less about loyalty
Okay.
and more about transactions.
Right. Like the bottom line.
Exactly. The bottom line took priority, and that's really where this source gets, I think, pretty sharp. It's calling out this disconnect between that warm, fuzzy family rhetoric
Uh-huh.
and then how companies actually operate.
Totally. It's like they're talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk.
That's it.
Right.
And I think they use a pretty powerful example to kind of drive that point home.
What's that?
Well, they talk about companies who are making record profits,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time, they're laying off employees.
Right.
So you got these companies raking in the dough,
Yeah.
but they're still letting people go.
But like, wait a second, I thought we were a family.
That's what makes you question that whole metaphor, right?
correct.
Because it exposes the truth that for a lot of corporations,
Yeah.
the bottom line will always be more important than individual well-being.
Right, like profits over people.
Exactly. And that can be a tough pill to swallow.
So for all of us out there listening, how do we navigate this?
That's the big question.
Right, because it feels like a bit of a minefield out there.
It can feel that way for sure,
You never know what to expect.
right? Like, who can you trust?
Yeah.
You know,
And it can feel really disheartening.
definitely. I think the first thing is just don't be naive about the nature of the game.
Okay.
Like, it's okay to feel connected to your work.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to feel connected to your colleagues,
Yeah.
but you always have to have a backup plan.
So it's like that classic advice.
That's basic advice for a reason.
Right.
Right.
Build your network, keep your skills sharp.
Exactly.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Especially not the company basket.
Especially not the company basket, right?
Right? Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
your career is your responsibility.
Okay.
No one's going to look out for you the way you can look out for yourself.
So invest in yourself.
That's it.
Okay. I like that.
Because no company's going to do it for you.
All right. So this might seem like a big leap,
Okay.
but stick with me here.
I'm ready.
We're moving from the boardroom
Okay.
to the global stage.
All right, let's do it.
And I want you to think about Zelensky's journey. Because I think it's a case study in learning the rules of the world
Oh, yeah?
the hard way.
Trial by fire?
Right. It's not like he had a handbook or anything. He was just thrown in
Thrown right in.
and had to figure it out.
Yeah. His story really embodies that harsh reality we're talking about.
Right.
Because just a few years ago, this guy was an actor,
Right.
a comedian.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's thrust into like the most high-stakes role imaginable,
Right.
leading a nation at war.
Yeah. Talk about a crash course in global politics.
Absolutely no time for orientation. He just had to hit the ground running.
Learning on the job with the whole world watching.
With the whole world watching and judging.
Every move scrutinized.
And, the source you provided really highlights, I think, a particular interaction
Yeah.
that exemplifies this.
Okay.
And it's his early meeting with then President Trump.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Because remember, this was at a critical juncture.
Yeah.
War with Russia, a struggling economy. Zelensky trying to establish himself as a leader on the world stage.
Right. Trying to prove himself.
Right, exactly. And then he has this meeting
With Trump.
and gets hit with
Oh, yeah.
these pretty blunt assessments.
Yeah. For those who need a refresher, Trump basically said that Zelensky wasn't ready for peace and even accused him of disrespecting the United States.
It was a very striking statement.
Yeah. Very bold.
Very bold. And it raises, I think, some interesting questions
Yeah.
about how individuals, even on that global platform,
Right.
are judged.
Like, what are we actually looking at?
Yeah, are we looking at the complexity of their circumstances?
Right.
Or are we just demanding these immediate results?
Regardless of the situation they inherited.
Exactly. Like, are we giving them the benefit of the doubt?
Because it almost feels like,
Yeah.
in Zelensky's case, there's this expectation that he should magically solve everything.
Right.
Like on someone else's timeline.
And if he doesn't,
Right.
he's just not good enough.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, he's dealing with a lot.
He's got a lot on his plate.
Don't give the guy a break.
And this ties back, I think, to that larger point from the source.
Yeah.
Which is that the world doesn't always care about individual struggles.
Right.
Even when the stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point to keep in mind.
It's a tough one.
So we've got these two scenarios,
Right.
right? The corporate world and global politics.
Yeah.
And both seem to operate with this like sink or swim mentality.
Yeah, like you either make it or you break it.
And to be honest, it's all a bit disheartening.
It can be.
Is it really every person for themselves out there?
Well, it's not that simple.
Right.
Because while institutions and systems often fall short,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that we're powerless.
Okay. I'm ready for the pep talk.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so we established like the world doesn't just hand out participation trophies.
No, you don't get a gold star for just showing up.
Right? Whether you're talking
Let's
about
start it.
yeah, like cutthroat corporations or international politics.
Right, it's a prove yourself kind of vibe out there.
Yeah, like high stakes.
High stakes for sure.
So it's not about
But it's not about resigning ourselves to that.
okay.
It's about using that to our advantage.
Right.
And I think that's where the parallels between these two seemingly different worlds,
Okay.
the corporate climb and navigating global politics,
Yeah.
can offer some really valuable lessons.
Okay, I'm ready for a pep talk.
All right, pep talk time.
Give me the tools to not just survive, but actually thrive in this prove yourself world.
All right, so let's go back to Zelensky.
Okay.
Think about what enabled him,
Mm-hmm.
not just to handle the pressure,
Right.
but to actually gain respect and admiration
Mm-hmm.
on the global stage.
Yeah, like what made him successful?
What stands out to you about him?
I mean, he definitely has this unwavering sense of purpose. Like he knows exactly what he's fighting for. And it goes beyond just policy. It's like a core conviction.
Exactly, and that internal compass
Mm-hmm.
is crucial.
Okay.
Whether you're facing down like corporate restructuring or leading a nation through a crisis,
Yeah.
when the external pressures are relentless,
Right.
having a strong why can make all the difference.
Oh, I like that.
Strong why.
Yeah. So it's like having an anchor in a storm.
Exactly. You're not just swept away.
Keeps you grounded.
You're rooted.
Okay, I love that.
So how do you develop that kind of unwavering purpose,
Yeah.
especially when things are constantly changing?
Right, because the world is unpredictable.
The world is unpredictable.
So that's the key.
That's the key. It's about adapting.
Okay.
Look at the skills Zelensky had to develop.
Yeah.
Quickly, communication, negotiation, strategic thinking,
Right. And he did it all under such pressure.
under intense pressure.
Yeah.
But these are all transferable skills,
Interesting.
valuable in any field, any challenge.
Yeah. Okay, so even though the specifics of the challenge are different,
Mm-hmm.
the underlying tools needed to overcome them are
Mhm.
often the same.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is where that corporate world advice circles back.
Okay.
Building your skill set, having a plan B,
Right.
those are all forms of adaptability.
Okay, so we've got strong sense of purpose,
Mm.
adaptability.
Right.
What else is in this survival toolkit?
I would say solidarity.
Okay, solidarity.
Zelensky relies heavily on his team,
Uh-huh.
his advisors,
Mm-hmm.
the international community,
Okay.
in the corporate world, having a network of mentors, colleagues, and friends is just as vital.
Right, so it's like when the company family facade crumbles,
Yeah.
you've got your real support system to fall back on.
And that's a key takeaway from the corporate source you shared.
Yeah,
It's not about being cynical,
right.
but it's about recognizing that ultimately your well-being is your own responsibility.
Okay.
And building those genuine connections is part of that.
Right, it's not just about showing up.
It's about nurturing those relationships.
Noting in the effort.
Exactly. And this leads to another essential tool for resilience,
Okay.
one that I think often gets overlooked,
What's that?
taking care of yourself.
I'll admit, when you're dealing with high-pressure situations,
Yeah,
self-care can sound a little frivolous.
I hear that.
Like it feels almost indulgent.
But think of it this way.
Okay.
Self-care isn't about indulgence.
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing your limits.
Okay.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
So true.
Right.
So it's about setting boundaries,
Yes.
taking breaks,
Absolutely.
getting enough sleep,
All those basic things.
which we tend to sacrifice
The pressure's on.
when the pressure's on, right?
Exactly.
It's like survival mode kicks in.
Yeah. And you just power through.
But we can't do that forever.
No. You burn out.
Yeah.
Whether you're a world leader
Mhm.
or just trying to make it through another Monday.
Right.
Taking care of yourself is essential to being effective.
Okay, so this framework is starting to click. Purpose, adaptability, support, self-care.
I like it.
But how does it all tie back
Yeah.
to our initial comparison,
Okay.
the corporate world and global politics?
I think it ties back because what we're really talking about
Mm-hmm.
is a shift in perspective.
Oh, okay. A shift in
We're
perspective?
moving away from depending on external systems.
Right. Like the company as family.
The company family, the fairness of global politics.
Yeah, that the world is going to be fair to us.
Right.
But that's not always the case.
And towards a mindset of self-reliance,
Okay, so we're taking control
taking control
of our
of
own destiny.
it's about empowerment.
So instead of waiting for the system to validate us or take care of us,
Mm-hmm.
we're taking ownership
You got it.
of our own journey,
Own your journey.
our own path.
And that shift
Yeah.
is powerful because it means that even in a world that can feel indifferent
Right.
or even hostile at times,
Yeah, totally.
we still have agency.
Oh, I like that.
We can choose how we respond,
Yeah.
how we grow, how we make our mark.
That's a powerful reframing.
It's a mindset shift.
So it's not about denying the harsh realities,
Right.
but using them to become stronger, more resilient.
Exactly.
Hell of it.
And I think that message resonates
Yeah,
beyond just corporate life or global politics.
totally.
It's for anyone who's ever felt lost, overwhelmed, unsure of their place in the world.
Right, like you're not alone in this.
You're not alone.
Okay, so it's about saying,
It's about saying,
okay, world, do your thing.
your thing.
I'm going to do mine.
I'm going to do mine.
And who knows, maybe in doing our own thing,
Yeah.
we end up changing the world for the better.
Maybe we do.
But that's a conversation
That's a conversation
for the next part.
for the next part of our deep dive.
So much to unpack here.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
Yeah, it feels like we really went deep in this one.
We started by looking at that gap
Mm.
between the ideals we're sold
Yeah,
and the often harsh realities.
like in the corporate world,
In the corporate
on
world.
the global stage.
Absolutely.
And we talked about, you know,
That company family myth,
yeah.
the pressure to perform, even when the odds are stacked against you. And that sometimes it feels like the world just doesn't care about our struggles.
And that's tough.
It is tough.
But then we shifted gears
We did.
and we explored how those same realities can forge resilience.
Resilience and even a sense of empowerment, I think.
Right. And we talked about the importance of having a strong sense of purpose, being adaptable,
Absolutely.
building those genuine support systems,
It's so important.
prioritizing our own well-being,
Those are the tools that can help us navigate any landscape.
the corporate jungle,
The corporate jungle.
the complexities of international relations.
It's all connected.
And now for that final twist we promised,
Okay, hit me.
Imagine we could sit down with Zelensky,
All right.
not as a president,
Mm.
but as a leader facing immense pressure. What advice could we offer him,
Ooh, that's good.
drawing from those corporate world insights?
That's an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah.
I think the first piece of advice would be to remember that while leadership can be isolating,
Yeah.
you're not alone.
Right. You got to build your team.
You have to build your team.
Find your people.
You have to find your people.
Right.
But you also can't just rely on others.
Okay.
You have to cultivate that strong inner compass,
Right.
that clear vision for what you're fighting for.
Because when the pressure's on,
Yeah.
it's that internal conviction
Mhm.
that keeps you going.
That's what keeps you going, keeps you grounded.
And then I'd encourage him to think like a CEO,
Okay.
in a sense.
Man.
Focus on building a strong and diverse team.
Yeah, absolutely.
People who can challenge his assumptions
Yeah. You need those different perspectives.
and bring new ideas to the table.
And no leader, no matter how brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
can do it all alone.
Totally.
You have to delegate.
Right.
Empower your team. Trust their expertise.
And then that communication piece,
So communication is key
both internally
Yes.
and externally.
with the world.
Especially in a world that's just like overflowing with information.
It's so noisy out there.
You have to be able to cut through that noise.
And articulate your vision
Yeah.
clearly and compellingly.
Totally. And then finally, we'd remind him of the importance of self-care.
Ah, yeah, self-care.
The weight of leadership,
It's heavy.
it's heavy.
And even the most resilient individual
Mm-hmm.
needs time to recharge,
Yeah.
to reflect,
To just step away.
to connect with what truly matters.
Find those moments of peace amidst the chaos.
That's it. That's the key.
And I think that's a powerful reminder for all of us listening.
Absolutely.
The world might not always be kind,
Nope.
fair,
Or predictable.
but we have the capacity to cultivate strength
We do.
and resilience within ourselves.
And that's what makes this deep dive,
Yeah.
despite the heavy topics, ultimately a hopeful one.
I agree.
We're not just passengers
Right.
on this wild ride called life,
We're active participants.
shaping our own experience.
Huge thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for diving in with us.
And we hope you surfaced with some valuable insights and a renewed sense of possibility.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.